If you want talk, games, and fun all rolled into one, well, you've come to the right place. This is The Game Show, where host Bradley Clarke and his special guests talk about the world of television game and competition shows. But Bradley's guests aren't here to just talk. They came to play a game as well. What will today's topic be? What game does Bradley have planned? There's only one way to find out.
It's time to start the show.
You heard the man. Welcome to The Game Show. And here's your host, the Bradster himself, Bradley Clarke.
It's go time yet again. Thank you as always, Austin Angelo. I'm Bradley Clarke, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Game Show, the talk show where topics related to the world of television game and competition shows take front and center. Now, on a previous episode of The Game Show, I checked an episode theme off my bucket list when the host of Nick Arcade, Phil Moore, was my special guest, and I devoted an entire episode of The Game Show to a classic 90s Nickelodeon game show. Well, my special guest today definitely knows a thing or two about Nickelodeon game shows because he was the host of not just one.
Each of these kids has an unbelievable talent. Each one of these Nickelodeon stars has to guess what it is. And none of them are safe from the slime. Figure it out. The new show where wild guesses.
Does it involve bending?
Does it have to do with the robot?
Does it involve soup?
Meet epic messes. Every day at 7, join Nick's biggest stars as they try to figure it out.
But two.
The show where all you need is a great memory and super concentration skills.
That's not all. My special guest also had some network airtime as the host of this ABC primetime game show from the summer of 2011.
Tonight, 8 contestants compete in a game show like no other.
The question is...
I don't know. Uh-oh.
Choosing the correct answers can win you $50,000.
What's up, baby?
But choose just one wrong answer.
The wrong answer is...
And you're gone. On 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show.
You've got to be kidding me right now. You guys all look so serious. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the most insane game show in the history of television. One of you, who we're going to call the winner in this case, is going to walk out of here with $50,000. I know. And we couldn't have made it more simple for you. All you got to do is answer a question correctly and you stay in the game. It's that easy. However, get just one question wrong, and you're not only going to be eliminated from this show, a penniless failure, because there's absolutely no fun in that for me, we are going to eject you from this show. And we have 101 different ways to do that.
Yes, figure it out. BrainSurge and 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show are each on his game show resume. And would you believe it, he just happens to be on the line with me now so that we can chat about all three. Please welcome to the game show, the always energetic and hilarious, Jeff Sutphen. Jeff, welcome to the game show.
Thank you for that intro. I might call you every day just to give me that intro to start my morning. That would be fantastic.
You know what? I'll put that intro into your alarm clock for you. How does that sound?
That sounds even better.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited for many reasons, and I can't wait to talk about your game show career and also why you've been such a big part of my childhood. And before we get started, though, I just have to say that a mutual friend of ours, John Ritchie Jr., the reason how we got in touch with each other, he says hi, and then he told me to say that he wants me to take the hi away. So I don't know what that means, but I'm just the messenger here.
You know what? I'll take it up with him. We're supposed to do lunch later this week, and then maybe I'll just take his lunch away after he orders it, and then we'll be even.
Well, now that we have that settled, let's get into talking about game shows. So we're going to talk about your entire game show career so far, as well as another Nickelodeon show that I was a huge fan of and that you were heavily involved with. And later on, Jeff will have the game of the day. And listen to this. I've created an original game especially for you to play.
I'm going to get killed.
No. You're going to do just fine. All of my guests always say that, and they do just fine.
Here's the thing, though. I think a lot of the general misconception is, oh, you're a game show host. You'd be great at game shows. I think I'd be a terrible contestant. I think I'd be eliminated right out of the gate.
Well, you're going to prove yourself wrong today.
Yeah, well, these better be softball questions, Bradley, or we're going to have words.
Well, we're going to have plenty of words before that, too.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so I want to start off by talking about why my 5-year-old self is jumping up and down right now. Because every day after I came home from school, I would turn to Nickelodeon and watch a show called You Pick Live. And I hope you know where I'm going with this.
I've heard of You Pick Live, yeah.
And you played my hero when I was 5 years old, Pick Boy from You Pick Live. And for the listening audience who don't remember You Pick Live or have never heard of it, it was basically MTV's Total Request Live, but for kids. They got to choose what Nick shows they wanted to watch during the afternoon, early evening time. And you played Pick Boy, which essentially picked contestants to play my favorite segment, the prize wall, and did different stunts. And when I found out that you were Pick Boy after watching BrainSurge and 101 Ways, my mind was blown.
The worlds collided that day.
That's right. Everything was coming full circle.
Golly gee willikers, you're watching You Pick Live. It's time now for the big fat prize wall. Oh, Pick Boy. Oh, Pick Boy. Oh, man.
Oh, by George, he made it.
The traffic was horrendous. I can't begin to tell you. How you guys doing?
Good.
I randomly pick Davida.
Oh,
come on over here.
Over here.
Stand right next to Candace here.
All right. There are 14 to 5/8 stores on that prize wall. Behind each store is a prize. Which store are you going to choose? 11.
All right, she chose door number 11. What could be behind door number 11?
Go silent!
Oh, that was exciting.
I've been had. Okay, sneak attack. Here we go. I hope you like low-maintenance pets because you've won a rubber rat.
My first question for you is, how did you get that job as Pick Boy?
Well, first and foremost, being the world's greatest picking superhero, no need to apply there. It's funny, I've had this very strange career trajectory. I knew very early on, like when I was in high school, that I wanted to work in television, production side of things. And, you know, as far as being on camera, it was never anything that I was like, I'm going to be a host or I'm going to be an actor. Like, that never really was something I thought about. I enjoyed making home movies and stuff with my friends, but I didn't really think of it as a career path. But I did love the idea of making TV and being creative and working in that side of the industry. So when I went to college, I studied communications, TV, radio, film, and graduated. And straight out of college into the workforce, as you know, started as a PA and worked my way up through. And after a series of working for a bunch of different companies, I ended up at Nickelodeon when they were starting You Pick Live. I was hired as one of the 3 people to help launch the show, and I was brought in as, I think it was like a segment producer or something like that. And as we got closer to doing our first show, they said, hey, we're thinking about having this superhero called Pick Boy. Do you want to do it? And I said, absolutely. I'm totally comfortable in a full-body leotard. So it was really kind of a fluke. And Pick Boy, it was pretty much like a legal necessity for the show because we couldn't have the hosts of the show, Brett and Candace, pick a kid for the prize wall because they didn't want it to be favoritism. And we couldn't have Brett and Candace read prize copy saying, you won a Schwinn bicycle with dual suspension, because that was endorsing. So they needed basically just kind of this background character who did nothing other than come out, pick a kid, say, I pick you, kid in the red shirt. What door do you want? Door number 7. You won a bag of rocks. Whatever it was. And that was really what Pick-Boy was supposed to do. And then very quickly, Brent and I would joke around off camera, being like, wouldn't it be funny if I came out and said this to you? And we're kind of almost have this slight rivalry. So me and him would just throw lines at each other here and there. And Pick-Boy just kind of grew into this character. And the fans really took to him. And the next thing you know, Pick-Boy was what he became, which was this kind of huge thing. So it was very funny, kind of, oh, matter of fact, this happened. Again, I never set out to do it. Now, that being said, I mean, what kid growing up doesn't want to be a superhero? So I was really kind of living the dream.
Do you still keep in touch with Brent and Candace?
Thanks, Dave, and welcome to the premiere of Nickelodeon's You Pick Live. I'm Brent.
And I'm Candace, and for the next 2 hours, we're handing over control of Nickelodeon to you guys.
That's right.
Yes, I do. I talked with, actually, Antonio yesterday. I talked with Brent. We were shooting emails back and forth the other day. We see each other and hang out quite a bit. Candace is in New York now. Every once in a while, we'll have a text back and forth, but she's probably the person I speak the least to. And not because there's ill will or anything like that. It's just she kind of did her thing, and we all kind of went in one way. At one point in time, we all were out in California. I see everybody. I mean, Jonathan Judge, who is the producer of the show, we're still really good friends. We spoke on the phone 2 weeks ago. It was one of those things that none of us knew each other beforehand. You know, we were all brought together to do that show, and very quickly over the course of its series, I mean, we became family. To the point, like I said, we all still keep in touch with each other.
Well, the show was filmed in Times Square in New York. When I was 5 or 6, I was begging my parents to go see the show. I never actually did get to go see it. But you're a New Yorker as well, so welcome back to the New York airwaves.
Yes, thank you very much. It feels good.
Well, as a New Yorker all my life, born and raised, I always love having New Yorkers from the game show world on the show, especially when I get to talk about shows that were filmed in New York, such as You Pick Live. Now, my next question in regards to You Pick Live is, there was a point in the run where the fans voted you off of the show.
It's funny you bring that up. We did over 400 episodes of You Pick Live, and that's a lot just to do. I remember so much of You Pick Live because it was something that not only was I producing, but it was such a good time. So all those memories, I retain them very well. That day was a very interesting day for a number of reasons, some of which you saw on camera, which was me getting voted off the show, and then there was other stuff that happened behind the scenes that were just incredibly comical. So the actual event that you're talking about, Bradley, it was the season finale, and we were doing Big June afternoons, and we did our final week. We flew to California for our biggest week of You Pick Live ever, and on the last episode, we had Jeff Probst, host of Survivor, on the show, and every time he was on the show, we were going to vote someone off. So he was on for our final episode. We were going to vote someone off the show. Pick-Boy, not realizing that it means he's getting voted off the show, thinks it's a popularity contest. He thinks he needs to win this contest, so he campaigns to get the votes, not realizing that he's going to get voted off the show.
Getting 289 of the possible 300 votes is Pick-Boy. Sweet, I won! I am the winner!
So he campaigns, he gets the votes, and gets voted off the show. Now, before that happened, I had been always wanting to do this idea on the show called What's Coming Down. And the idea about What's Coming Down was someone would be up in a high area like a stairwell, and then someone would be down at the bottom, and the person who's up high would drop something off like a tomato, and the person who's at the bottom had to guess what it was before it hit the ground and splat. We never had an area to be able to do this until we went to California to do Big June, where we could get out on top of the Nick Animation Studio where we were shooting, and we could throw things off the roof. So Pick-Boy and Antonio were going to go up onto the roof to play What's Coming Down. Brent and Candace would have to stay on the ground. Pick-Boy and Antonio would throw things off the roof, and Brent and Candace would have to guess what they were. So Pick-Boy and Antonio, they were going to start it with a gag, and while Brent and Candace had their backs turned talking to the camera, Pick-Boy and Antonio were going to throw a dummy dressed as Pick-Boy off the roof and yell, "Ah!" And then they would turn around and see this dummy falling to the ground. So we were going to pre-tape this, even though the show was live. Every once in a while, we'd pre-tape a segment. We had to pre-tape it because it was tough to get outside and up onto the roof in a commercial break and get all set up. So we pre-taped it, and so when we went to pre-tape it, me and Antonio throw the dummy off the roof, and I scream, "Oh!" as it hits the ground, and then Brent and Candace turn around, like, "Oh my gosh, Pick-Boy!" For whatever reason, the director yells cut and was like, "No, let's do it again, something wasn't right." So they didn't erase that take. So we shot the whole segment. It ended up going fine. When they go to roll it in live, they rolled the wrong take. They rolled the take of the dummy just falling off and Brent and Candace turning around going, oh my gosh, Pick Boy! And then it just cuts to commercial. And so it looked like Pick Boy fell off the roof of the Nick Animation Studio and died. And then we had to come back in the next segment and go, there was technical difficulties. It was just a dummy. Pick Boy's okay. He's fine. So that entire episode ended up playing that Pick Boy fell off the roof, died, came back to life, then got voted off the show forever. So that was a good episode.
And thankfully, to my satisfaction, and I hope many others, Pick Boy eventually did return to You Pick Live.
Yes, it was always in the plan to come back, but it was just to see Pick Boy celebrate that he got kicked off the show and not realizing that he had been kicked off the show. But yes, that was a big thing because, like you said, you were very upset by it. And I think there was like some fans and stuff that wrote in and were really kind of upset about it too. But again, there was always a plan in motion to get the world's greatest picking superhero back.
The producers playing with our young minds.
I know. I always say, I started working at Nickelodeon in 2002, corrupting the youth since 2002.
Well, Nickelodeon certainly has done your career well because 4 years after You Pick Live, you returned to the network for kids to host BrainSurge.
Correct.
Which was a game show that tested the young minds of America to see how much they could remember through these various puzzles and these games. So did you get that job because you were in the loop in Nickelodeon, or was it because I know you produced the revival of Guts the year before My Family's Got Guts?
Sure.
Extreme Arena, the event, the all-new My Family's Got Guts, the only show where your action sports dreams come to life.
Well, I'd always been part of the Nickelodeon family, so yeah, that helped. But the simple fact of the matter was I still had to jump through the hoops, and I auditioned. They didn't come to me and say, hey, we want you to do this. I think I auditioned about 3 times before I got it. And that came down to me and another guy who I knew because we had done some work together on Nickelodeon as well. And me and him got along really well, and so we'd see each other at the auditions, and we were both kind of like, well, they said this to me. Well, they said this to me. So it was really weird. And then they called me and said, hey, congratulations, the show is yours. I said, that's fantastic. I said, have you told Mark, who was the other guy? And they said, no, we haven't had a discussion with him yet. And I said, okay, well, I'm having dinner with him in an hour, so I don't know how you want me to handle this. And they said, well, we'll tell him. And I went to dinner with him, and he was like, ah. But it was a good thing. Like I said, we were very friendly, so it wasn't like if you're going to lose to anyone, losing to your friends is a good way to go. But yeah, BrainSurge was great. It was such a fun show. As much as You Pick Live was wonderful and fantastic, BrainSurge was kind of that first step for me to go, okay, I'm the sole host of this show, and the weight was on my shoulders to carry it. But it was great. My approach was really kind of, this is my playground, my rules, and I was able to be a producer on the show, so I got to be really invested in the puzzles and the questions that we were coming up with. And that just helps me as a host to be as invested in the show in all aspects as possible so I can be better at my job. But yeah, it was a great show.
It's funny that you mentioned Jeff Probst because I'm a super fan of Survivor. And recently in an interview, Jeff was asked which he prefers more, being a producer or being a host. And he said that both are essentially the same job. So for you, did you find that being both a producer and the host of BrainSurge was in a way the same job?
Sure. It's kind of one hand washes the other for me. It's the more I can be invested in the workings and the mechanics of the show, the better understanding I have of it. So that allows me, when I step up in front of the camera to host it, I know why things are going to work the way they work and why this has to be done this way, and I know where it's going. So I'm able to tailor my hosting to that. And on the reverse, being in front of the camera and knowing what goes into that, I'm able to then build material that works for me a little smoother, and I see what works with contestants. So I agree with Jeff Probst in the sense that they're kind of the same. To me, they're very different, but they are the same in a sense that one helps the other. I'm a stronger producer because of my hosting background, and I'm a better host because of my producing background.
They go hand in hand.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned before about how viewers might think game show hosts would make great game show contestants, but ultimately that might not be the case. So since you helped create some of the game material as a producer on BrainSurge, do you think you would have been a decent BrainSurge contestant?
No, I would have been terrible on BrainSurge, and I know this for a fact because not only did I help create a good portion of the puzzles, I was obviously aware of all of the puzzles, being in the writer's room every day, and I've sat through all the game testing, so I knew every single puzzle. I voiced over all the puzzles, so like I said, I was very involved in it. And then before the show, I'd go through every puzzle, watch them all down. So I knew the answers. I helped make them, I reviewed them, and when we would shoot it, and I would go, okay, here's your next puzzle, da-da-da-da-da, I'd still get it wrong. I mean, like, I had such an upper hand, and I would have gotten crushed on that show. So, like, Bradley, you and your generation, you've grown up having to multitask. Even as something as simple as You Pick Live, which was, oh, I'm watching something, but they want me to go vote. So you go online and vote. So you're splitting your attention between going online and watching TV. And same thing with BrainSurge was happening. You know, you have kids who can play video games while listening to music and have a conversation with someone. I didn't grow up like that. You watch TV or that was it. You know what I mean? It was, you weren't doing multiple things at once. And BrainSurge is really designed for that kid or that generation who could do multiple things at once, who could watch a puzzle, take it all in, listen to things, and then be able to go, okay, here's what it is. And that's why, like I said, huge disadvantage just not being able to multitask like that.
That is interesting because, you know, a lot of people talk about now how today when you're watching TV, you're not really just watching TV. You're on the phone, you're on your computer, you're doing something else, and TV is more of a background sometimes. I personally, like if I'm watching a game show, I need to make sure that I'm in the game because I like to keep score myself. I like to play along because, you know, it is a game show.
Sure.
You want to play along.
Well, that's the number one factor to any good game show is it's at-home play along. You know, you look at the shows that have been on the air forever, and they all have one thing in common. You can play them along at home, and it's fun to play. I mean, when I was watching Price is Right as a kid, me and my sister would sit there with pads and paper and write down our bids, you know, and compare. That's what makes a great game show, is the play along.
Oh, you should have seen me playing along with BrainSurge at home. I would go crazy when the contestants were getting wrong answers when I thought they were so incredibly easy. And there have been plenty of instances where I was jumping around watching the BrainSurge bonus round because that was my favorite part of each BrainSurge episode.
Jeff, this is still Alyssa, and she has cleared the first 2 levels. Nice. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
You feeling good? All right. Well, let's hope that goodness continues on here in the final stage where you could win thousands of dollars in prizes, plus a sliming you're never going to forget.
Level 3, the final stage.
Alyssa, this level has 3 parts, each one more difficult than the last. It's your job to memorize the light pattern that appears on the floor and then recreate it by stepping on the right squares. For example, this is what it looks like when it's right. This is loud and obnoxious. And if that happens, you gotta come back here and start all over. Once you complete the first path, you're gonna wanna stop the clock. You do that by stepping on that orange button right up there. Once that happens, the floor is gonna open up to a 5x5 and the second path will be revealed. Complete that, we're gonna open this dance party up to the 6x6 grid and you will be faced with the hardest path of them all. Okay, take a look, here it is. You're more than halfway there. She's off again. She's making a strong move. Oh! You are getting slimed! It is so good! How does it feel? Gross! It feels gross. You know what? Now that you mention it, it does feel a little gross. But it's all good. That's all the time we have for BrainSurge. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time when we have 6 new Brainiacs go head to head to head to head to head on BrainSurge.
You already mentioned that the main game would have given you trouble, but how do you think you would have fared playing the bonus round?
I think I would have done okay on that. I don't know if I would be able, once it got out to the 6x6, that would have been dicey. The 4x4 would have been fine. The 5x5, I would get it, but the question is how much time would I have left myself? So the big difference there, in which a lot of people didn't realize, is when you're watching on TV, you're watching it from that camera that went up high. so you had like a good overhead view of it. From where me and the contestants were standing, it was a completely different view. The path went out away from you. We didn't have the advantage of seeing it from up above. So you really had a completely different perspective. But yeah, I mean, that was such a great end game. I don't know if I ever tried it. I think I might have done like a 4x4 or something like that early on when we were testing it. Brain drain, I went down like every day. Definitely went down the brain drain at least once a day.
One of you guys is going home a BrainSurge champion today. And with that title comes a chance at thousands of dollars in prizes, plus a sliming from head to toe. The rest of you, there's only one way out of here, and that is down the brain drain. There's only one way out of here, and it is down the brain drain. Priscilla and Dave, you guys ready? Yeah! Priscilla, do it up.
And then, of course, I was getting slimed left and right. So not a bad day at the office, if I may say so.
Well, actually, I've had Phil Moore, the host of Nick Arcade, on the show. He was telling me all about his adventures with slime, and I'm sure all the Nickelodeon hosts have their own adventures with slime.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The first time I got slimed was on U-Pick Live. We went to Nick Orlando Studios to shoot with the Slime Time Live crew, and we got slimed. So that was my first time. And then you always remember your first. You know, people ask me, like, oh, have you been slimed before? I'm like, yeah, of course. And then it's one of those things where it's like, if I had to guess, I'm well over 100 slimings. During Figured Out and BrainSurge and all that stuff, they always like, oh, if you don't want to get... I'm like, why would I not want to get slimed? I was like, first and foremost, I can't avoid it. Secondly, I don't want to avoid it. Thirdly, do you realize how silly it would look if, like, I was running away? If you're the host of a Nickelodeon show, you better be prepared to do two things: get messy and look silly. If you can't do those two things, maybe not the right network for you.
I think that's a fair judgment. I know you have kids of your own. Do you like to show them episodes of BrainSurge that you did?
It's funny, I didn't really. Now, that being said, my daughter is at the age where she can navigate YouTube pretty well, and, I'm going to type in my dad's name. And episodes of BrainSurge came up, and she started watching it. She obviously knew, like, we have pictures of BrainSurge and stuff like that, so she knows, like, oh, you were a host. It didn't really resonate with her so much, but when she saw these episodes, she's like, this show is great! And she started playing, after every question, she'd run into the room going, I got that one right! So it's kind of cool to see the show still held up to today's audience because one person looked at it and liked it, who happened to be my daughter. So it's a little biased. And then my son is still pretty young, and I don't think it really makes too much sense to him. I mean, obviously he watches TV and YouTube and stuff like that, but I don't think he's really kind of made that connection. Whereas my daughter Shane, she's pretty with it. Even when I was doing Figure It Out, she was old enough to come to the set. I don't think she remembers it too well, but I think she was probably 3 or 4 years old at that point, but old enough to realize that, hey, this is what my dad does for work, and this looks fun.
Well, by the way, I love your YouTube videos when your dad's a game show host. I think they're hilarious.
Guys, come here. Yeah, come here. Here, take this. Morgan, take this. I need you guys' help cleaning up today. But first, let's play What's Beneath the Couch? Playing today, we have Shane, a 6 3/4-year-old who loves pizza and ponies, just not together. Shane, what do you think's under the couch?
I think everything's under the couch.
Playing against Shane is her 2-year-old brother Morgan. He's newly potty trained, kinda, loves choo-choos and monkeys. All right, you guys know the way the game is played. This couch has not been moved in over a year. Who knows what's underneath it? I'm gonna put 20 seconds on the clock. You guys are gonna grab what you can and put it in your respective boxes. Get set, go! All right, go ahead, grab stuff. It seems to be a dirty diapers in the mix. I don't know why, but there's a can of beans. Morgan picks up a piece of cake and a block. He's having trouble because he won't put down Curious George. Shane seems to be cleaning house, literally and figuratively. And time! What do we have for our winner? A chance to go upstairs and do it all over again in your room. Nice job. Go on. Good job.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not cleaning my room.
Thank you. Yeah, that one hit me one day. I was just kind of like, I don't know what it would be like growing up with a father who was a game show host. And I was like, oh, this is what it would be like. I am a game show host, and I have kids.
Well, what a coincidence that is. Now, going back to BrainSurge, the show lasted for 3 seasons, but do you think it could have lasted longer? Because I certainly think it could have.
The show definitely could have gone further. I'm very grateful for every episode we did. We did a total of 120 episodes, which, outside of Double Dare, that's pretty much the standard for game shows on Nickelodeon. Legends of the Hidden Temple did 3 seasons. Paradise Run did 3 seasons. So it's one of these things where it's not out of the ordinary that it only did that. I was a little disappointed that the 3rd season we changed it to Family BrainSurge. It was still fun. It was still good. But I just liked that we had something that was so unique to kids. And by having adults involved, I kind of felt like we took something from the kids.
Welcome to Family BrainSurge. It's time to kickstart your smarts and massage your mind. And now, here's your host, Jeff Sutphen.
Welcome to Family BrainSurge, the only show where all you need to win is a great memory and super concentration skills. I'm as excited as a robot at a dance-off. Let's meet today's Brainiac.
That said, I think creatively we were still very strong. Our puzzles and our games are still very great. And all of us, hands down, could have easily done another 2-3 seasons. But I think we all kind of knew that, hey, you get 3 seasons at Nickelodeon, and you just make the best of it. So we were happy to come back for season 2, and then we were really happy to come back for season 3, because even though season 2 did very well, I feel like there were some moments there where we didn't know if we were going to come back for a 3rd season. So when we got to come back for a 3rd season, it was very much all right, let's empty the gas tank here and do it right.
Well, it was interesting how you brought up before how the game was designed basically for the kids of this generation with the multitasking and that stuff. So it was interesting when the adults did play, how the kids and the adults sometimes played the game differently.
Yeah, that was the rule, that the parent and the kid could confer and talk about it, but the kid had to be the mouthpiece. The kid still had to say the answer or type in the answer. But it would be funny because, as you remember, there was a lot of time I would watch the parent's face and go, you had no clue. And I'd call them out on it. Like, Johnny says that it's choice 2. What would you have gone with? Clearly, they were on separate pages 90% of the time.
And you were so great at that ad-lib. That's one of my favorite attributes of you watching, just your quick timing and all that.
Rarely have I missed an opportunity to shoot my mouth off, Bradley.
That's why I'm giving you this platform as well.
Thank you.
So the 3rd season of BrainSurge, that aired in the summer of 2011, but the summer of 2011 gave Jeff Sutphen fans like myself another reason to be happy because you made the leap from Nickelodeon to primetime network game shows. And by that, I mean ABC's 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show, which is still one of my favorites. You know, that's going back to the Wipeout era of ABC. And they used to fill in the summer with all of these primetime reality competition game shows, such as Wipeout, I Survived a Japanese Game Show. There was one called Crash Course. But 101 Ways, it was basically 8 contestants and a bunch of stunts and trivia all combined into one.
Right.
Which, how can you go wrong? Stunts, trivia.
Yeah, it was a poorly designed trivia game show. It was just an excuse to do some really fun stunts. It's really what it boiled down to.
I guess you needed the trivia because then it'd be too much of a Fear Factor comparison, I'm guessing.
Right. Well, that was the thing that I always really liked about the show because I felt like it had a little something for everybody. If you like Fear Factor and Wipeout, you're going to like this. If you like trivia-based game shows, you're going to like it. It had a little of something for everybody. You know, it had tense moments, it had fun moments. So I felt like it was a good show.
To stay in the game and compete for $50,000, all you got to do is get this question right. If you don't, you're off the show, and here's how. Each of you will be standing inside one of those giant snare traps over there. My family has used those to catch trespassers, Bigfoot, and other mythical beasts that roam the land. If you choose the right answer, you move on. If you choose the wrong answer, I am going to cut the safety line. You are going to shoot 100 feet in the air to become food for the giant vultures that live in the area. I call this one Nothing But Net.
Oh my God. That doesn't look good. That does not look good.
To compete for the $50,000, all you got to do is get this question right. If you don't, you're off the show, and here's how. That is a 1940s biplane. You will be standing on the top wing. If you get it right, you're safe. If you are wrong, however, that plane is going to go screaming down this runway, take off with you standing on top, soar high into the
the air and away from your chances of $50,000.
Unreal.
I like to call this one On a Wing and a Prayer.
And you're right. We finished the third season of BrainSurge. I think I had 2 weeks off, and I went right into shooting that show. And it was fun. I never wanted to see the stunts tested and pre-tested because I wanted my reactions to be real. But that was one of those things where I was like, all right, I'd show up. What are we going to do today? We're going to drive this truck off this cliff, and it's going to explode. And I'm like, what? All right, I trust you. And it was all the same people who did Fear Factor and Wipeout. So, as a matter of fact, like all the crew people, camera, audio guys, I think we shot 101 Ways on like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then like Thursday and Friday they were on the Wipeout set. So they were shooting both those shows at the same time, and it was all the same guys. And like I said, a lot of those guys did Fear Factor. So we had just such an A-plus team. And like you said, it was a leap from kids' cable to primetime network, hour-long format. So there was a little bit more pressure, but that pressure quickly goes away when you realize, I'm really just got to keep doing the same thing I've been doing, which is just have fun. And that's really kind of what I've built my career on, is as long as you're having a good time, that's why you got the job, is because they like what you do, so don't overthink it and just keep doing that. But yeah, it was a fun show. We only had the 6 episodes. We had a pilot that we shot that never aired. I really honestly believe if they had picked up like an additional 6 episodes, that show would have done like what Wipeout did, or Fear Factor, where it went for 6 years. I do feel that it needed an additional 6 episodes to really find its audience. It did okay. It wasn't one of these things where it was a train wreck. But it also wasn't the thing that was like, oh my gosh, look, this thing is a huge hit. It literally did middle of the road. And when they were looking at their budgets going, where do we save a few bucks? They looked at that show and said, this is where we save a few bucks.
I was very disappointed when the show got canceled, or even when they said the season finale, because it was one of those shows where it started mid-June and ended late July, and didn't really go through the whole summer. And I personally love that show. I'm not just saying that because, we're talking about it, but I
appreciate it.
I really did like that show. Fear Factor, you're just watching people eat spiders and get into vats of worms. But at least the trivia questions were attached to it. And even though it was simplistic trivia, they had some good questions.
I have a question that I am dying to ask you guys, but first, here are the answers. McLobster, McEggroll, and Spam McGriddle. Which 2 of these items have been sold on McDonald's menus in the United States? All right, let's get started. I'm going to give you guys a question, but first the answers, and here they are. Breastfeeding for dummies, mind reading for dummies, acne for dummies, and identity theft for dummies. And the question is, which 3 of these are actual books in the For Dummies series?
Yeah, like I said, you had a real top-notch crew putting it together, not only from the stunt aspect, but producers and actual trivia game show people. Matt Kunitz, who is the exec producer of Fear Factor and Wipeout and 101 Ways, he's really good at surrounding himself with the best people and making sure that everything he does is top-tier people. So somehow I stuck in there, but yeah, he's really good at what he does, and I've been very fortunate to work with him on a few things.
How many days did it take to film the 6 episodes of 101 Ways? Because there were 5 stunts per episode.
So we would get it down to our final 4, and that would take a day. And then once we had those final 4, we would shoot the next episode and get that down to final 4. And then we would go to a night shoot where we would go up to the tower, drop until we got one, and then send up show number 2, drop until we got one winner. So in one night, we could finish 2 shows. No, I think it was 3 days, because you said there's 5 stunts. So one day we would do round 1, next day we would do round 2, and then we'd set up a night shoot and knock out 2 shows at once.
Anyone here afraid of heights?
It's okay, I'm only climbing to the top to win this, so.
Oh my God.
Yay! Yeah.
Welcome to the final round!
Oh my God.
Shish kebabs! Hey!
That's right.
Now that we have the dramatic shot of all of us walking up and you all being astounded at how high in the air we are, let me tell you about what's happening. In a few short minutes, and if I do my job correctly, it'll seem like an eternity for you, one of you will be walking away from us, that's right, walking away, $50,000 richer. However, the other 3 of you are going to be testing the laws of gravity, but I'm going to get to that in a second. Before I give you the final question here in the final round that's worth $50,000, I want to tell you about a little change. I'm still going to give you a question. I'm still going to give you the answers in advance. However, this time around, 3 of those answers will be wrong, and only 1 will be right. Find that right answer, and you are leaving here $50,000 richer. All right? All right. Let me tell you guys a little something about what's going to happen to you if you pick one of the wrong answers. Oh, God. Imagine you are standing on one of those platforms over there, a mere 10 stories above the water. When all of a sudden, you are blasted in the back with an industrial-strength air cannon, knocking you 100 feet below. Oh, God. Well, for 3 of you, you're not going to have to imagine that because it's going to be a reality. I call this one Blast Chance.
When we do a night shoot for the tower, we would knock out 2 episodes a night. So we would have the final 4 from 2 different episodes, and we would take them up and just drop.
In a few short moments, one of you is going to be walking away $50,000 richer. For the rest of you, you're going to get up close and personal with my good friend Gravity. More on that in a second. Final round, $50,000 at stake. I do need to tell you about a few rule changes. I'm still going to give you a question. I'm still going to give you the answers first. Only this time, 3 of those answers are going to be completely wrong, and there's only 1 correct answer. To win that $50,000, all you got to do is find that 1 correct answer. If not, you're off the show, and here's how. Imagine laying on one of these platforms, face down, of course, when all of a sudden it tilts forward and you fall head first 10 stories straight down into the freezing cold, icy water. Well, for 3 of you, you're not going to have to imagine it because it's become a reality for you. Why? I like to call this one Last Man Leaning.
And then go, great, reset, put up the new stuff, eat dinner at midnight, send up the next crew. Yeah, it was fun. Again, I've been so fortunate not only to work with some amazing people, but to work on shows that were just really fun to work on, that really fit my personality. So I've been very blessed in that regard.
How fun was it to torture these contestants with, the wrong answer is... I love that.
It was really... And here's how. It was great. When I shot the pilot, it was a little dicey. There was part of me that felt a little guilty about it. But then I realized they signed up to be here. They knew what they were getting into. And up on the tower, I could have done that all day long. I loved drawing that out and really teasing them and building those moments. That was probably the best thing about that show for me. With BrainSurge and Figure It Out and You Pick Live, we would shoot to time. You Pick Live especially because we had to get a commercial break. So you were really on the clock. With BrainSurge and Figure It Out, we were still shooting that to time. So we weren't necessarily live, but you shot it like you were going live. So they didn't really have to do too much editing. With 101 Ways, they said, don't worry, we're going to edit the crap out of it. You do what you do. Build the moments. There's no script, which is great because I don't like going off scripts. And the only thing you need to read exactly accurate is the questions. You got to make sure you say the questions exactly the way we've written them. So that was the only thing I had to read off of cue card. Everything else was just shoot from the hip. I could do what I wanted. And again, because of my producerial background, I knew I'll build this up and you can cut here for a commercial. I was able to kind of build those moments. They really let the leash out and let me do a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff hit the cutting room floor, too, and that's what's great about being able to edit is they could just keep in all the best stuff. But yeah, the short answer to your question, at first I felt a little bad about torturing them, but then I really got into it.
Let's be honest, you really loved it.
I did.
Especially when you say fiery explosion.
Yeah, fiery explosion. Just trying to make it more dramatic. I think I coined my term as far as, what's your style? What's your tone? My thing is playful sarcasm. I'm going to be sarcastic. I'm going to give you a rough time, but I'm not going to be mean about it. And no one's going to walk out of here feeling like, man, that guy made me the butt of every joke. And I can use that with both kids and adults. I didn't really have to change much about my style.
Well, you certainly didn't have to change much of that playful sarcasm as you moved back to Nickelodeon when you hosted the revival of Figure It Out. Now, Figure It Out, I've been watching since I was young on Nick Gas, when there was a Nick Gas. Now, you were a bit older when Figure It Out came along, but were you a big fan of the Nickelodeon game shows when you grew up?
I didn't have cable when I was growing up, so I didn't necessarily get to watch any Nickelodeon. Obviously, I was very aware of Double Dare. I got to watch that because I don't know how it worked, but they had it on Fox.
Tonight, the whole family can dare to win on the game that's filled with spills and packed with prizes. Family Double Dare.
On your mark. Get set. Go! Get that milk going in. Let's see who can get it past the line. The blue team is doing great. The red team is having a little bit of a tough time. Red team is really flying there. Keep it going. First team to go past the red line gets $50 and control of round one here on Family Double Dare. This is neck and neck. It's very, very close. And who's going to do it? And it looks like the blue team did it. Congratulations, Mom. Take that off. You can take that off, too. And let's move back and play some Family Double Dare. Way to go.
And now, here's the host of Family Double Dare, Mark Summers.
Hi there. Thank you, Harvey, and thank you, audience. Welcome to Family Double Dare, the show that dares to bring your family together to make a mess of cash.
I was definitely aware of Double Dare and watched Double Dare. You know, what kid didn't love that? But as far as Figure It Out, when I started at Nickelodeon, I obviously knew of its history of game shows, and I'd seen like clips and bits and pieces, and knew that Summer Sanders was the host and things like that. And Figure It Out was the first thing I ever did where I didn't have to audition for it. They approached me and said, "We want you to do this." And I said, "Great. You know, I loved working for Nickelodeon and doing game shows. Sign me up." But it was also the first time ever that I was doing something that had a legacy behind it. So, like I said to you earlier, my approach on BrainSurge was my playground, my rules. That could carry over to 101 ways because I was like, hey, I'm in charge. These are the traps I've set up. Here's how we're going to do it. With Figure It Out, there was already multiple seasons.
There's a new Nickelodeon game show everyone's asking about.
Will I be on it?
Yes. Will kids be on it? Yes.
Does it have anything to do with asking questions?
Yes.
Do you get messy?
Yes.
Does it involve music, inventing, and body contortions?
Yes.
How about reptiles, eating, and personal grooming?
Yes.
Would you just tell me what it is already?
Figure it out for yourself on Nick's newest game show. Today at a special time, 6, 5 Central. On the only network for you, Nickelodeon.
I kind of felt like I just had to take the torch and continue with it. Obviously, I wanted to put my own personality to it, but there wasn't really any room and no need to, hey, let's redefine this. Let's turn it on its ear and do something different. It was different in that sense, and so that was a little bit of a challenge for me because I did feel a little bit of pressure to go, wow, there's such a legacy here. Summer Sanders, man, I hope I don't screw this up. I hope I don't ruin this for the people who grew up watching it going, this was great, this was my favorite show, and he's completely bastardized it. So it was a little delicate in that sense. But again, another show where I get to act like a 10-year-old and make a mess. So we're playing to my strengths on this one.
Now, I'm always curious about when they bring back game shows and then they revise them a bit by way of the rules, you know, they'll change it. Is there a reason why they changed the second and the third round to 45 seconds instead of the 60-second round? That's my biggest question I've always wondered in terms of figuring it out.
Question. The answer is incredibly boring.
Don't worry, I love these explanations.
Well, this is going to be a disappointment, Bradley. So when you were watching the original game show, back then you used to have a half-hour format, was really 24 minutes because the other 6 minutes was made up in commercials. As time has gone on, networks now sell more ad time to pay for stuff, so a half-hour format is now really only 22 minutes. So you have 8 minutes of commercial, so you have to take 2 minutes out of your show. Well, where do you do that? So we tightened up as much as we could, and you had to basically go, all right, well, we'll make the rounds 15 seconds shorter each. So that's 30 seconds. Now we just got to cut out another minute and a half. We do quicker demos at the end. Don't take too much time up top, and we found a way to make 2 minutes up. So boring answer, but that's the truth. Sell more commercials.
Well, to my disappointment, that's how a lot of game shows are nowadays. Take away some gameplay time because commercial time has increased over the years.
It's funny that you say that because that was my biggest thing with Figure It Out was I sat there and looked at it and I was like, all right, you have 60 seconds, 45, so that's a minute and a half?
Let's see, 45 and 45 is a minute and a half, plus the first round, which is a minute, so it's actually 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes, sorry, calculator generation. So it's 2.5 minutes, and then of course you're running 2 games per show, right? So 2.5, so that's 5 minutes. So an entire half-hour game show, which is, as we just discussed, 22 minutes, there's only 5 minutes of gameplay. And that was always that thing that really puzzled me of going, this is a game show, and there's only 5 minutes of gameplay. The rest of it was making a mess, and prize copy, and then the demo at the end. Still a very fun show, but it was kind of like that head-scratching moment of like, whoa, we really spend the least amount of time playing the game.
Well, that's actually one of my biggest pet peeves now in terms of game shows. I feel like a lot of the shows nowadays, they don't really focus as much on the game now. And it's more about comedy. Sometimes it's more about interacting with the stars. The shows end up turning out pretty good most of the time. But when you sit down and think about it, this isn't the good old times of the 70s and 80s when most of the time was devoted to the game.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely been a shift for sure.
Now, was there any talk about maybe getting some of the original panelists to come back on, like Danny Tamborelli, Lori Beth Denberg, or even having Summer Sanders appear as a cameo guest host?
I mean, there might have been. This is the other thing. That was also a show that I wasn't a producer on. So they approached me to host, and I said, is there a possibility I could come on as a producer as well? And they said, no, we need you to be just host on this one. We're going to have you produce some other stuff down the road. And I said, okay, fine. So there might have been some talk of it. I was not aware of it. And I tried to connect with Summer Sanders. I knew her manager or something like that, so I wrote an email to be passed on, and I don't know if it ever got to her, but I then saw her at the Summer Olympics in London, and it was one of these things like we were both at the same event at the same time. She was coming off stage, I was going on to stage, and we did the, hey, ha, ha, and like we had this brief like, yes, okay, figure it out, yeah, oh, great, high five, and then like her people were pulling her in one direction, I was getting pulled in another direction. So I always felt like we were like the passing ships. I always wanted to connect with her and kind of share my feelings about it, because at that point I don't even think it had aired yet, or it was still airing, like we had just started it, so I was still young in my figure it out days.
I would love for Nickelodeon to have this special where all the game show hosts from all the years come back and they do this panel discussion, or like this special where they relive the memories. I think that would be fantastic.
Well, I did that a few years ago in my garage. It's called the Garage Show at Jeff, where I got Mark Summers, Kirk Fogg, and Phil Moore. And we did exactly what you said. We just kind of sat there and shared some war stories. And it was fun, because it is interesting to hear, while we all had different shows from different time frames, you know, the similarities are obviously very much the same. We all had to deal with a lot of the same issues and roadblocks. But, you know, then there's really fun stories like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. So it's fun.
Not even remotely live from his garage, it's The Garage Show with Jeff Sutphen. Tonight's guest, Mark Summers, Phil Moore, and Kirk Fogg. Music by James and the Next Door Neighbors. And now, here's your host, Jeff Sutphen.
Oh, hey. Wasn't expecting you. Of course, that's just a bold-faced lie. I was just putting the finishing touches here on my vanity I made from scratch. It's no big deal, really. Probably be on Pinterest tomorrow. Anyway, you're probably wondering why I've called you all here today. Well, it seems the Garage Show with Jeff Sutphen is about to make history. What's about to happen right here in this garage will be talked about for at least the next 3 days. It's going to be big. For the first time ever in the history of the world, we have assembled all the great Nickelodeon game show hosts right here. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Kirk Fogg from Legends of the Hidden Temple. There he is. Hey! I expected you to rappel down.
Hey!
We got Phil Moore from Nick Arcade.
Phil Moore?
Phil Moore, no way!
Phil Moore!
It just got even better.
What's up, everybody? You didn't tell me you're bringing Phil Moore.
I know, but check this out. Here we go.
That is awesome.
The guy we probably owe all our careers to, the guy who started it all, from Double Dare, the one and only Mark Summers.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Mark is there!
What's going on? I'm not worthy.
Hey, listen, we're working in a garage.
I know. Let's simmer down.
Excuse me, where's
How
Marina?
great.
I have to kiss.
Now, speaking of Mark Summers, I saw on your Twitter page that you posted a photo of yourself next to a Double Dare podium. You had a Double Dare shirt on, and you captioned it, Jeff Sutphen for the host of Nickelodeon 2018 Double Dare. Now, were you hoping deep inside that you might get chosen to host Double Dare?
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Like I said, to me, that's the granddaddy of all Nickelodeon game shows. That's the one that the channel built their legacy on. It's the one that everybody knows. And I was very much campaigning to say, look, settle up the old guy one more. Let's do it. I knew that it was a long shot, but I still had a few relationships at the time at Nickelodeon that I thought maybe, hey, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Again, I wasn't hanging my hat on it. I wasn't like, oh, this is totally going to go my way. So I wasn't horribly disappointed when it didn't go my way because I figured it wouldn't. But yeah, absolutely would have loved to have done it.
And that would have been super cool because you produced on a revival with My Family's Got Gus. You hosted a revival in Figure It Out. You would have been a 2-time Nickelodeon game show revival host. You would have gone down in Nickelodeon history.
I know. It would be nice to have that piece of history. It is funny that I do look at things like that and take a lot of pride in that. You know, Mark Summers, obviously, incredibly storied host at Nickelodeon, and there's a bunch of game show hosts and stuff out there, but I look at the body of work that I've had at that channel, and like I'm really proud of it. And outside of Mark Summers, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who's hosted more hours on the channel than I have, or more episodes. And that's one of those things that I take a lot of pride in. And I'm very proud of my contribution to that channel and that network. And I'm kind of enamored that I realize like I have these fans that range from all different ages, because there's groups of people that grew up that know me as Pick Boy, then there's groups of people that know me as the host of BrainSurge, and then there's groups of people who know me as the host of Figure It Out. And that's the thing, is like some people don't make the connection that I did all three from 2002 to 2013. So that's a pretty good run of stuff.
And then there's me, who knows you from all of them.
Exactly. There are a handful of people that do know all of them, and you are in that handful, my friend.
Well, I am certainly glad to be one of the members of that handful. Now, Jeff, before we get to the game, I want to ask, do you hope to one day host another Nickelodeon game show, or just host another game show in general?
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, you know, as you mentioned earlier, the landscape has changed pretty drastically. It's very celebrity-driven. And even though I have a resume that has over 700 episodes of television-hosted game shows, it doesn't really count for too much, because people want your Alec Baldwins, your Kevin Harts, your Steve Harveys to bring that big name recognition. So I can't really compete with that too much. I try. My name is still floating around in certain circles. I'm waiting to hear back, hopefully in the next week or two, about a game show that I auditioned for a few weeks ago. But because of my producing background, I've put all my attention into producing at this point, and people will call me and say, hey, do you want to come audition for this, or do you want to do a run-through for us? And I still very much do it, and I would love to. I love hosting. I love hosting game shows. I love the kids market, especially now that I have kids of my own. It carries a lot more weight. So give me a microphone and an audience, I'm ready to go.
I'm crossing my fingers that you do get that, because I'd love to see you back hosting a show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And speaking of hosting a show, I always get the thrill when my favorite segment of the game show comes up and there's a professional game show host on the line, because that means I get to practice my skills on a true professional, and this time it's going to be you. So it's time to play the game of the day.
Game of the day.
So as I mentioned, we're going to play a game that I based on one of your shows, 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show. And I've appropriately titled this game, 101 Ways to Win on the Game Show. 101 Ways to Win on the Game Show. And since the game show you hosted and the game we're playing right now both have to do with the concept of having different ways to do something, today's game background music is Paul Simon's hit, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
Nice.
So here's how the game works. You'll be answering 4 game show-inspired trivia questions. Now, each question has 3 correct answers and 1 incorrect answer. So after I read you the 4 answer choices and the question, your goal is to select the 3 correct answer choices and naturally avoid the incorrect answer.
Got it.
Once you pick your 3 answer choices, I'll reveal if they're correct or not in the order that you selected your answers.
Okay.
And for every correct answer chosen, you'll score a point. However, if you pick the wrong answer as one of your 3 choices, the question ends once that wrong answer is revealed. So I advise you to pick the ones that you know are correct first so that you can guarantee yourself, hopefully, more points.
Got it.
And after the 4 questions, if you've scored 7 points or more, you will be deemed a winner.
Nice.
And I've built in what I like to call the get out of jail free card, because this is called 101 ways to win on the game show. So if you do not win by the 4 questions, you have one final chance to win at the end.
All right, I'm in.
Those are all the rules. Jeff, are you ready to play?
Let's do it.
Let's play 101 ways to win on the game show.
Lighting effect.
You could do that for Millionaire. All right, so here comes question number 1. Remember, there are 3 correct answers, 1 incorrect answer. Goal is 7 points. Here it comes. The 4 answer choices are inventions, potpourri, animals, and foreign cuisine. Inventions, potpourri, animals, and foreign cuisine. Here comes the question. Which 3 of these categories were used during the Jeopardy round on the premiere episode of Jeopardy from September 10th, 1984?
I'm going to say animals,
Okay.
foreign cuisine, and inventions.
All right, so animals, foreign cuisine, and inventions. So here we go. Remember, 1 point for each correct answer. Animals is a correct answer, so you have 1 point.
Nice. 1/7 of the way there.
Foreign cuisine is also a correct answer.
2 for 2.
2 for 2. Can you sweep the first question? The wrong answer is potpourri, which means you are correct with inventions. 3 points.
3 points. All right. I'm off to a good start.
Excellent.
That was a hard question, too, Bradley. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, if that was hard and you scored 3 points, I have some good faith in you.
Well, there's a little bit of luck going into that one, too.
By the way, animals featured the first ever answer revealed on Jeopardy.
No, very good.
A little Brad fact for you. Brad fact.
If you're ready, then let us play Jeopardy! And this time, as I indicated, with answers ranging in value from $100 to $500, here are the 6 categories you're going to be dealing with in this first round. Lakes and rivers, inventions, animals, foreign cuisine, actors and roles, and number, please. Since we do not have a returning champion on the program today, we drew numbers, and the winner was Greg, and that means you have the honor of selecting the first category and the first amount. Good luck, Greg.
Thank you, Alex. I'll take animals for 100, please.
Our very first answer is these rodents first got to America by stowing away on ships. Greg.
What are rats, Alex?
That is absolutely right.
You have 3 out of 7 points, and you still have 3 questions to go. Here comes question number 2. The 4 answer choices are Hollywood Spotlight, Hollywood's Talking, Hollywood Connection, and Hollywood Showdown. That's Hollywood Spotlight, Hollywood's Talking, Hollywood Connection, Hollywood Showdown. The question is, which 3 of these titles featuring the word Hollywood are the names of real game shows?
I'm going to go with Hollywood Connection. My second one is Hollywood Spotlight, and then Hollywood Showdown.
All right, so Hollywood Connection, Hollywood Spotlight, and Hollywood Showdown are your answers. Let's see if you can make it 2 sweeps in a row. Let's begin with your first answer selection, Hollywood Connection. And Hollywood Connection was the name of a real game show. That is correct. It was hosted by Jim Lang.
What kind of romantic partners do you prefer? One who follows your lead or one who leads you? In just a few moments, we'll hear the responses to this question of these 6 celebrities. The lovely Meredith McClay, Mr. Television Milton Berle, the outspoken Zsa Gabor, from Barney Miller and Fish, Abe Vigoda, from Busted Loose, Pat Carroll, and the inimitable Nipsey Russell, as we all play the Hollywood Connection. And now, let's meet our host, Jim Lang. Thank you. Welcome, Abe, Pat, Nipsey. Hello, Mayor. Hello, Zsa and Milton.
Oh, good old Jimmy.
If the name sounds familiar, he also hosted The Dating Game, Bullseye, all that great stuff. All right, so you now have a total of 4 points, and we are moving on to your next answer choice that you chose, Hollywood Spotlight. And I can now reveal to you that Hollywood Spotlight is the wrong answer.
Son of a gun. You totally duped me. Hollywood Talk just seems like it would be an after-hours public access talk show that's from Hollywood. That's why I didn't pick that one.
It was a short-lived game show in the early 70s hosted by Jeff Edwards.
From Television City in Hollywood, CBS presents Mary Tyler Moore, Ross Martin, Pearl Bailey, Milton Berle, Sally Struthers, Rich Little, Lloyd Haynes, John Forsythe, Bess Parker, Judy Kahn, Joanne Worley, Doc Severinsen, columnist Joyce Haber, Dean Jones, Joan Rivers, Sebastian Cabot, Red Buttons, and David Jansen, all revealing their thoughts and opinions about people, places, and things on Hollywood's Talking. Now here's the host of our show, Jeff Edwards.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is our first show. We have a great show for you. I know you're going to enjoy it, so stay with us. And welcome to Hollywood's Talking, a unique new show with some of your favorite movie, television personalities expressing their opinions and thoughts on people, places, and things.
And it was hosted by another Jeff, too. Come on. Get with the program, Sutphen.
By the way, Hollywood Showdown was hosted by Todd Newton.
Yeah, okay.
Each one of these 6 players is selecting an envelope with a cash value inside. Only one has the box office card. Find that player, and you could be in for a payoff of over $10,000. Because this is Hollywood Showdown. And here's our host, Todd Newton.
Hey, thank you, Randy West. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Hollywood Showdown. It's the show where you need to know all about the wonderful world of entertainment, because every question we throw your way has something to do with television or movies, music, and so much more.
So you need 3 more points, but you still have 2 questions. So you're in good shape, and this is question number 3. The 4 answer choices are $1,033,650, $1,026,080, $1,030,340, $1,017,490. And the question...
Which one of these is divisible by 3?
Which 3 of these money totals were the winning amounts of Wheel of Fortune's first 3, and so far only 3, $1 million winners?
I have no idea. I'll let you pick these for me, because I have no idea. So you said the last one ended in 90.
1,017,490.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
I'll go the last 3. So I've given you my first one, and then the second and third answer you gave.
Okay, so 1,026,080, and then 1,030,340.
You got it.
Alrighty. You need 3 points to get a victory. Your first answer was 1,017,490, and you're off to a good start with this question. That is a correct answer.
Yes.
That was the third $1 million winner total.
Can you use $1 million?
Sarah, you hit the jackpot with $1 million.
What a night and what a way to start off a season. $1,017,490.
2 more points, and I'm going to a new car, which I'm going to trade in.
For door number 2?
Exactly.
So now you're up to 5 points. 1,026,080 was your second choice, and that is also correct.
You better go shopping for that dog.
Michelle, it's our biggest payday yet. $1 million.
Look at this. Look at this. He and Big love you. Wow. How did this happen?
happen for that to happen? How you doing? Here, you don't need this. You got the real thing. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. By the way, just consider that a little wedding gift from Wheel. You got it. You know what our total is? $1,026,080.
That was the first $1 million winner total. Okay, let's set the stage. You have 6 points. One of these is wrong, one of these is correct. If you pick the correct answer, you have won this game of 101 ways to win on the game show. Your answer was 1,030,340. The wrong answer is 1,033,650, which means you're right. You have just won the game.
I just won a new car and a chicken dinner. Yeah!
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Love it. Oh, I can't tell you what I'm going to do with the prize money. I'm so excited. I'm going to go on a vacation to Europe, and I've always wanted to take my parents and family on a vacation, so they're going to come with me, and then I'm going to buy a new car and put a down payment on a house and pay off all my student loans.
It seems like you've been around a few game shows to know what the typical responses are.
Yes. At which point I generally want to say, well, after taxes, you're going to be left with $170, so you're not going to be able to do any of that.
That's very true. Well, congratulations, Jeff. You have won this edition of 101 Ways to Win on the Game Show.
Can't believe I did it. This is fantastic. I'm putting this at the top of my resume.
See, you have to have faith in yourself. I told you, the role reversal worked this time. And by the way, for those of you playing at home, $1,030,340 was the total of the second $1 million winner, and currently the top money winning total in Wheel of Fortune history.
Let me look. We have $1 million winner.
Autumn, you've hit the jackpot with $1 million.
Get it in there. How did you solve that puzzle?
Unbelievable. Autumn, our 30th year celebration continues with your win of $1,030,340.
Well, Jeff, I hope you had fun playing the game.
Bradley, I had a great time. Thanks for putting me to the test.
Well, you are very welcome. And that was the game of the day, 101 Ways to Win on the Game Show. 101 Ways to Win on the Game Show. Well, Jeff, I want to truly thank you very much for joining me on this edition of the Game Show to talk about You Pick Live as well as your game show career so far.
Oh, you bet, Bradley. Thanks for having me on, and let me know if you ever need anything else.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all the memories you've given me over the course of my childhood.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for being such a fan. True fans up front.
That's right, true fans. And Jeff, you always have an open invitation to join me again on the Game Show to talk more about game shows, or if you just want to play another game and once again show the world that you are indeed a great game player.
Consider it done.
Awesome. All right, Jeff, take care, and I hope to speak with you again soon.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, unfortunately, we've come to the end of this episode of the Game Show. However, if you use your brain and surge onto the internet, you can immediately listen to another episode of the Game Show, including my episode with Nick Arcade host Phil Moore that I mentioned earlier, as soon as this one ends. All you have to do is log on to www.soundcloud.com/Bradley_Clarke. That's BRADLEY_CLARKE/sets/The Game Show. That's www.soundcloud.com/Bradley_Clarke. That's BRADLEY_CLARKE/sets/The Game Show. Plus, don't forget to like The Game Show starring Bradley Clarke on Facebook and follow The Game Show starring Bradley Clarke on Twitter using the handle @TheGameShowBC and #TheGameShow. But of course, be sure to tune in next time for another exciting episode of The Talk Show, all about the world of television game and competition shows, The Game Show. I'm Bradley Clarke, the Bradster, And there are certainly 101 ways I could end this episode, but I think I'll stick with the line I've grown accustomed to saying. Bye for now.
This edition of The Game Show was created and produced by Bradley Clarke and was recorded at the WRHU studios. This is Austin Angelo speaking.
The Game Show is a Bradley Clarke production. Get your game on.